Government should have come up with a strong program to prove government is going to be sustainable. There's no point for me sitting there knowing that country was anyway going towards the crisis, and we're trying our best to advise them. Last time, if I don't get the full blessings from the administration, right from the top, from the president, I don't think no point coming back and doing that service.
CAP has emerged as a leading corporate in marine and industrial machinery maintenance, transforming the maritime landscape of Sri Lanka. CAP, navigating excellence, delivering tomorrow.
Welcome to another edition of Insight. I'm Shiharanis. Today we are going to talk about Sri Lanka's economy. Sri Lanka's economy has gone through a shift throughout the last 3 decades. It has seen a number of crises, a number of ups and downs, but it has shown resilience. And we have today in the studio a remarkable leader who has shaped up Sri Lanka's economy for the last 3 decades. It's none other than Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you, Shihar, for giving me this opportunity.
Let's start about the beginning, before you were central banking, Doctor. I remember you started business before you becoming a central banker, and you are coming from a background of a political family. Could you tell us about your beginning before the central banking?
Yeah. In fact, I'm coming from a family in the south. My village, my family. Where my parents and their family all are entrepreneurs and also very actively involved in politics. So that's my background right from the school days. I have been involved with my parents in both the business, running the business, that area, with my father, and also getting involved from time to time in politics with family, pretty much involved in politics. That's where, in fact, when I thought about it, and also when school days, to the Rabla, College Colombo, in those days, whenever there's a vacation time, I used to help my father in society. And since then, since after the graduation, went to another college, science, physical science, physics and chemistry. But I never had an intention to do in the public sector. Soon after passing out from the university, that was in 1992, at the age of 21. So I went back to my village, when my father continued to help in to more responsibilities running the business. That's where I passed out in 1982 without qualification. I joined the bank in 1990.
That's right.
Almost 9 years later, until that period, even from the school days, I've been pretty much involved in running my parents' business. I've done very successfully. Happy that I had that recognition as an entrepreneur, as a person running business. That gave me a much more exposure and knowledge about kind of a business and also practical economics.
What made you to choose central banking after 9 years of your graduation?
And there was a period of uncertainty for businesses in the south, as you know. Late 1980s, there was a insurrection, some of the issues for people who have been business in the south, I know politics. So we had to slow down our business activities. And there's a period I was kind of, I was not being able to use my full capacity to parents to run the business because of the disturbances we had. As a result, I thought there was a lot of uncertainty in that period. I was thinking about my future, and my friends told, why don't you come back to Colombo? And it was almost 8 years after graduation.
You must be around in your early 30s.
Yeah, no, it's about late 20s.
It's okay.
Pass out 28, and I was 28, 29. And someone told me, why don't you come to Colombia and do a IT course in Colombo so that you can have some skills for me to able to, join employment at that time. Based on my qualification. That was a change in my career. I came, basically started to doing at ICDM, is a Colombo postgraduate diploma in tech. That's why I started. After first semester, then I was also looking for employment opportunities. Then that was a period there were competitive exams for recruitment of officers with various classes to banks and also central bank. First, I sat for the People's Bank Management Training Examination. I selected to the computer exam, and I was selected as management training 1990. And I gave up
People's Bank
at the beginning.
Okay.
I joined the People's Bank in 1990 August and was there about 6-7 months. And meantime, I also did the exam for the central bank exam. Also, I was selected within the exam, came up with top 30. Then there was a period that time, if you can remember, there was a ruling public institution can recruit only on the basis of examination. That basis, I was at the central bank at that time because there's no other opportunities. I was looking for some employment. First, then after some time, central bank. I joined the central bank in 1991. It was in July, 1st of July 1990. I started my career. Even that was 3 months later than the date that I was supposed to take up because I was already employed as a manager at People's Bank.
Okay.
But I took some time to make the decision whether I move into central bank or not. I had intention to stay in the People's Bank, but after some time I thought, why don't that? And that's how I joined the central bank as a management trainee in 1991, which never had an ambition or intention to be a part of the bank, in part of the
handling a lot of research papers, and then you became the head of research, right? How would you briefly say about your career with the central bank until you became the deputy governor?
I think even that time, first kind of appointment at central bank was not in the economics. Because I had the background of running a business related to construction transport. And I joined the bank, then governor of Karnataka. What is your experience? I said, I'm a science graduate. I've been running a business in construction or transport industry with my parents. I said, okay, you are good to run our maintenance department, premises department. So I was attached to the then what's called premises department, maintain the vehicle fleet and also looking after construction, all these areas. I had the kind of experience. So then I happily accepted. I was the first 3 years. I was an assistant director, looking after the premises maintenance department for 3 years. Meantime, I did my postgraduate qualification exam. That was a requirement for anyone to postgraduate. And on that basis, I was eligible to apply for postgraduate studies abroad. That's where I got the opportunity.
You mean masters or PhD?
Masters at the Australian National University, funded by Central Bank for 2 years. And I started doing the master's degree for 2 years, so I deployed masters. And I did fairly well in this attainment. So they offered me a full scholarship for next 3 years, 3.5 years, to continue with the PhD. So then I took that opportunity.
Soon after your masters?
Yeah. So during my masters, within the masters period, they offered me a scholarship to continue for a PhD. It's a fully funded scholarship. That's why I took that opportunity and stayed for another 3.5 years. Total 5.5 years, I stayed in masters, PhD at AU. Came back to the early 2000. So I was attached to the economic research department. That is where I started my career as an economist at the economic research department. That I think is the important department and important position. Start my career as an economist. From that point, it was in 2000. And then in 2011, within the 11 years, I became the head of research, left research, and assistant governor, deputy governor, and became the deputy governor position in 2011 when I was at during that period. That's the kind of a career I had since I joined the Congress Department 2002 to 2011. Then other 9 years as a deputy governor and retired in 2020 after about 9 years as a deputy.
But that was a pre-retirement or early retirement, because you were supposed to retire, some months after that. What actually happened?
That time, I think they also practiced at the central bank. Usually, deputy governors are invited by the so until the last day of the service, which is completion of age of 6 years. But all the officers usually rule is that everyone should take 3 months leave prior to retire. Everyone has that kind of a opportunity, eligibility, should take. Okay, so that on board invites because of the experience of deputy governors and succession. They invite all the deputy governors to serve another 3 months until the end of 6 years. That was supposed to be January 2021. But by the time I had some kind of a experience, then one they basically, first time in the history, who did not invite then serving deputy governors, myself and then another deputy governor were not invited to serve the balance 3 months. So that I anyway had to take that. By the time I had also decided that I would not accept that even if I was invited, because that time the working environment and the kind of listening to deputy governors by the board was not so effective. I thought no point of being sitting as a deputy governor, not being able to at least make a contribution as a professional to give our professional advice, and if that is not accepted by then administration board, I thought there's no point for me sitting there, knowing that country was anyway going towards the crisis, and we are trying our best to advise them to accept. So I thought best even for me to take the as early as possible retirement. Bank also, right? As a result, I took the retirement by end September 2020, 3 months before the date of my retirement.
I remember this was even showed in national TVs, where the then president, was talking to you all and said, why don't you all use tools? This is before the economic crisis, right? The full-blown economic crisis. Before that, there was a meeting, and you basically headed the central bank delegation, and the past president, then president, was basically asking you, why don't you use tools, right? If the central bank has tools, why don't you use it? What actually happened there?
Actually, this was the crucial situation at that time with the COVID. So we as central bank, obviously then governor, we have been meeting the president on regular basis to discuss, what are the things we should do to support the economy. That time, in my observation, that time then president was kind of misled by saying that there are a lot of things central bank can do. They are not doing, and basically there was an impression to me that the then president had been briefed that we senior management of the central bank were basically not doing what we can do, and they are not supporting the governor. That was misled. That was the then president was misled in my. As a result, he was angry when he asked a question. These are things which we doing and why we can't do. Without giving an opportunity, he was misled. He believed that we are not doing fully. He blasted in public with all the central bank, including then governor was sitting next to me. I was sitting with the governor. Obviously, that was a point that I'm trying to explain, but we're trying to push in to explain why things we can do, what we can do, all these things. But then later, I gave an interview to another channel saying that why I will do that. So at that point, there was a kind of a disagreement with myself as an individual governor and then administration. Since then, basically, I was not part of this. Later, I decided.
But later, you become the governor in the same government. Later.
Yeah, later.
So what actually happened, during that discussions, right? When before you became the governor, I think then Finance Minister Adisabdi told us it was Dr. Kumarasamy who basically recommended you to become the governor, and then they call you and they basically you asked if the president invites you, you will take over the governor post. What actually happened there?
They actually since retirement I stayed for 6 months, and then I went to Australia to start my retirement life. My daughters basically were living there as citizens. I wanted to have time with my family. My daughters. I went then, but still, even though I was living in Australia, and I was closely monitoring what was happening in Sri Lanka, and obviously I saw clearly things are not going to be. This are going to be difficult. Countries going towards crashing the economy and the crisis. Really, I mean, that's not only myself, but a lot of other experts, even our deputy governors, saw that, but they were not there to also listening and looking at. But I closely monitoring the situations, and I knew exactly what should have been done and what should be doing given the situation. So then there was some inquiries. Was April 2022. That by the time I think then cabinet had been resigned, and then former governor had also resigned from any. Former secretary to the president had also resigned a little early. There was a kind of a new set of advisors president had approach, and they probably had been given some advices. Why don't you bring some who has some knowledge in central bank, someone who has education, and as a result, I get understood as Mr. mentioned, there has been discussion. And when I was asked, I said, last time, if I don't get the full blessings from the administration, right from the top, from the president, I don't think no point in coming back and doing that service. If I'm invited by the president, and also getting support from not only the president but also especially for the opposition. I knew exactly what should have been done, what should be doing. As a result, on that condition, I said, the president called me. Nandalal can help us. That was somewhere, I think, after release down. 5th or 6th or 3rd.
First week of April.
Then I said I'll accept the challenge. Only thing I said, I want someone who can understand better, run the fiscal policy. Secretary should be someone who can understand proper fiscal situation or overall macro situation. And also I said I will be independent, and central bank should do on the policy as appropriate. So we agreed to both conditions, and then I came. As subsequently, Sri Lanka selected as secretary. At the same time, we both were appointed 7th of April. They started the chapter.
So from 7th of April to 12th of April, there were only 5 days, right? So 12th of April, you and Mr. Siriwardana declare bankruptcy or declare the sovereign debt default on April 12th in a press conference, if I'm not wrong.
I think, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So this process is that during that period, we at the central recommended the government.
Yeah.
And we basically, first time, I think, then president and everyone knew we did not have sufficient.
Yeah. My question is, Doctor, what actually happened during those 5 days? I mean, did you all try to go for alternative? Because previous governor, before you come, I remember they were trying to get a Chinese 6 billion loan, right? Which never came, right? And they were trying to even serve the debt with the reserve we had, but nothing went well, right? In their way. So what happened during these 5 days?
During 5 days, obviously all had realized the way that this was previous central bank and the previous finance ministers. Then they're trying to do is to continue the same process. They were trying to get some short-term support from other countries, people. And it was very clear to me and the Treasury, there's no time. That's already come too late. We were on the brink of hard default. Because from the central bank point of view, I got to know clearly that was a information I did not have before I came in. That usable resource only 25 million US dollar, 25 million or less. We had at that point, and we had to settle close to 100 million Friday. So that was the situation. So then what I did, I basically met the president, met the finance minister, met some cabinet, and informed them this is the situation. So there's no way we can meet all the expected inflows are not clearly. There's no time. I told the president and the finance minister, we had only this amount of liquid reserves. Only there are two options available. One is to, without announcing, we had to have a hard default on 18th of April. That's one choice. The choice was at least we announce preemptive temporary suspension with an intention to restructure external debt operations and engage with the IMF. That is option 2. Out of those two, I clearly recommended to the government the best option at this point, given the situation, is to restructure, announce what they call soft temporary debt suspension, interim debt suspension, until there is occasional liquidation. And by time, for us to basically service all the extended liquidation, and meantime, save whatever inflows and coming resources to provide the basic needs for the people, those who are suffering heavily at that point. If I remember, when I came in, 13 hours power cut, no electricity, no water as a result, no electricity, and huge queues for petrol, gas. People were not doing any economic activity. They were on the roads protesting against and those they were suffering. So immediate priority for any government should have been to support these people to get back to normal lives and get them normal economic activity by providing basic needs. That was the ultimate first priority any government should have done. When I came here, I explained to the then president, then finance minister, this is priority, we should go in that option. We recommended. Then I also proposed that to the country board. Country board also agreed to recommend that to the government. That went official recommendation went to the Minister of Finance on 11th of April, after assessing all the situation options. And then President and Minister of Finance agreed to implement that. As a result, Minister of Finance announced the temporary distancing. It's not the central bank announced. There's some confusion in the area. It is not the central bank announced the distancing. It is the statement, if you look at clearly, announced endorsement by the obviously correct party would be Minister of Finance. That remains. I was also there at the media conference to clarify in questions because we also recommending that. This the situation where Minister of Finance announced the temporary thing, and we are also supporting in terms of recommendation as central bank as financial advisor. I think this was our duty to advise properly, advise proportionally, and tell the truth, not only to the administration but also to the public. Until that time, this wasn't revealed to anyone. The parliament did not know the situation.
Exactly. I think the criticism was that you never got the approval from the parliament and the cabinet before this was decided and declared.
Why should I think that's again a wrong position. Because any central bank has no communication channel to access to parliament. Central bank is asserted coming under Minister of Finance. Only way central bank can access but impression only to Minister of Finance. That it will stop there. From there, I think Mr. Alisabri is process Minister of Finance to inform the cabinet or inform the parliament. That's up to the Minister of Finance, not the central bank. Central bank has, we don't have direct access to the parliament. Even if we want to inform something in parliament, there's no access. Even under the US check, there's no access. We report to the Minister of Finance. We have been doing, even before I came, central bank deputy governors have been informing to the Minister's Finance, this is the situation. But they didn't accept that. Even what I did when I came back, I informed the same thing to the then new finance minister and then president. Then some people had to resign. The new administration with the new advisor, they accepted the situation. That's one difference. So basically, it is not the central bank which announced the temporary distress. There's nothing called bankruptcy. No bankruptcy was announced. It's a temporary interim distress was announced by the Minister of Finance. Recently, I'm proud to be part of associate with that because we recommended. We know that was the right thing, best thing for the country. I'm happy now that country has turned around as a result of that crucial recommendation was accepted by and approved by the cabinet subsequently, and then informed to the parliament as Parliament 4th of May. So this is the point. It was approved by the cabinet subsequently, 16th of April, and informed to the parliament on 4th of May. If there was any objection from the parliament, because when due date was the suspension starts from 18th of April. There is a concession period of 1 month. And it was informed to the parliament. It was announced. If there was any objection from the parliament, they had a 1 month period to reverse or come up with alternative solution. Okay? All parliament, including the opposition, endorsed this, accepted it. There's nothing called, there's no information of the parliament. Parliament was properly informed. If parliament wanted to take a different decision, they still had time. So reverse that or come up with alternative solution. There was no such solution available at that. This was my understanding. I think this was clearly one of these parliament select committee service later when the parliament then Secretary of Treasury clearly explained the process. It's very clear that this was properly done. Within the provisions of the law, Central Bank has no authority. The Minister of Finance has a legitimate authority to make that announcement. As a result, they did that.
CAP has emerged as a leading corporate in marine and industrial machinery maintenance, transforming the maritime landscape of Sri Lanka. CAP, navigating excellence, delivering tomorrow.
Doctor, one of the key issues you faced was the exchange rate, which went up to 380, and some people expected it to go to 400 and beyond that. What were the measures you took to bring it down to within 280 to 85 level?
Yeah, I think if you can remember when I took over this position, already exchange rate had been floated freely without any control. It's like a kite going without the thread and it's going floating everywhere. It's continuous floating and went up to 367 degrees. Even that time, other challenge, what we saw is that when you look at the numbers of exports and imports and remittances, because of the we tightened monetary policy, demand was coming down. But still, exchange rate was basically depreciating past and without going in control. So, yeah, our challenge was, if you can remember, remittances every month, we have been receiving 600 million per month, came back 250 million per annum. Export proceeds, all the exports are performing even well about $1 billion every month. But in the market, we don't see export proceeds coming into the banking sector. That's a huge issue those days because of the exchange rate was depreciating. As you said, people were predicting the exchange rate go 250, 500. And they have a kind of an informal system where the export proceeds, remittances were all coming outside the banking system and going through an informal Hawala Undial system. And importers are willing to pay for 400 rupees, 450 rupees to buy that dollars from the informal market and use that dollars to import not essential things like white goods, all the supermarkets, all the places, TVs, refrigerator, all are available at a very high price. So they were using those dollars, buying at $400, $420 rupees a dollar and importing freely. And then people are waiting in the queues. No petrol, no gas, but other goods are available in the market. So we looked at carefully what's happening. We want to ensure that money, those are coming into the country, should come into the banks. The first part we did this somewhere in May. We fixed what they call rolling peg. We had this system earlier. We introduced the banks. This is the peg. this is a brand, you have to operate within that brand. If you violate, we take action. That's the first part. That helped to stabilize around 370 to 80 levels. First part. Still, funds were not coming through the banking system. Then we had to address that part. For that, what we saw the leakages was happening what we call open accounts. So anyone could have imported anything without making payment through banking system. They buy dollars outside, make that payment through our India system and import things that's not essential at that point, but we don't have petrol. Chips are waiting outside, demurrage of paying without money in the banking system. But I recommend, especially when then finance minister, the president, I requested we wanted to ban these open accounts. If you want to see queues are basically disappearing, please ensure you ban the open accounts. Then government, the president, agreed to implement with a lot of resistance from the then cabinet and a lot of ministers. At that time were they can't guarantee the all essential food items all are coming through the open accounts. If you stop that, there will be food shortage. There are a lot of resistance, but at that time, I'm happy. Our recommendation was accepted. But that was imposed. There was compulsion for all this money leakages came into bank system. Automatically, then the supply in the market and started appreciating, and then started appreciating. People who were holding, hiding, all rushing into the market, and then pressure for appreciation. That is the game changer. At that point, I'm happy that we did that. As a result, we were able to stop the free fall of currency. We were able to bring the funds into the banking system. We were able to provide essentials for the people in this country using that foreign exchange and ease the supply chain. And people were able to back into the businesses as this is. As a key. One is the introducing rolling ban, and then brought that money all the banking system. As a result, there's a well-functioning foreign market with all the inflows out. I can see now, you can remember those days, banking system selling at 300, buying at 370. Outside, people are happily buying 400, 410. I can see even professionals are collecting dollars at these rates and keeping more dollars in their accounts. So they all lose. People who were speculating, we will ensure that we have to stop. That is a key change that we introduced. That's important one. No one knows about this. That's why I want to share this story.
Governor, before you went on pre-retirement in September 2020, was there any time you were thinking that we are going point of no return for a crisis? Was there any time that you were thinking like, okay, we could have done this and then we could have avoided this crisis?
Of course.
When was that?
And first point was that, if you can remember, in 2020, just when COVID was emerging, and then there was opportunity for us to have access to particular rapid financing instrument by the IMF.
The one now we are seeking, right? From the
one we are seeking. At that point, that was, I can remember, somewhere in 2020, March, April, just after America was coming up. And at that point, we had a discussion. And then government was trying to get some final assistance. We made a request to the RFI. Also made a request to some other better partners, asking for us some 3-year period of debt suspension. This was the request. But the bilateral partners did not accept, but their condition was that they need to have IMF program. For them to give that relief, they wanted IMF. The program with the IMF was that was first time in early 2020, IMF assessed Sri Lanka's debt, sovereign debt was not sustainable. When IMF made that assessment, it was not sustainable. IMF cannot give any kind of financial assistance to any member country. That's the internal rule. First priority is to start restructuring these obligations or come up with a strong program by the government. If that is not the case, government should have come up with a strong program to prove government debt is going to be sustainable. They have to prove either debt is sustainable with a proper credible program or accept the suckering of external. There are two options. They are even in 2020, March. In government, at that point, decided they thought there's no point of going to the IMF. because of the COVID coming up. So they did not accept that. But I think my thinking that time, and even when I had a discussion with them, was that if that's up to the government to make that choice, they are legitimate right as elected government, then they should have come up with a program, much stronger program, to show our debt is sustainable. That is sustainable. For that, they have come up with a strong budget to reduce the budget deficits on a sustainable basis going forward, even after the COVID period, the whole governments were expanding their balance sheets. Central banks and the government gave fiscal stimulus. That was accepted. There was no question of that. After the COVID, even 2021, but the mistake we did not reverse that stimulus, both fiscal and monetary stimulus, continue the same path, and a huge expansion of private fiscal deficits, large private deficits, huge monetary expansion by way of printing money, and there's a exchange rate policy was like fix the exchange rate to a certain level, which all were not sustainable. So I think there was opportunity if there was an agreement with all the parties, fiscal authority among it should have come up at least for the 2021 budget or even for 2022 budget with a proper program to restore sustainability even without the IMF. What was announced in the budget in 2021 or even budget for 2022, which was in November 2021, did not have that kind of a program to ensure get the credibility or continuous of the external creditors that we are in the path of restoring the sustainability. That is where even government was trying best hard get some external assistance, but no one was willing to do that assistance because everyone knew, rating agencies, everyone, experts, everyone was asking why don't you go to the IMF and restructure or restore the sustainability. Then only any external partner will come and support. When it was obvious that the direction was not in that direction, and no one was forthcoming to support. Not only India came with a very short term support, only temporary one that helped for a period. It was not going to address the root cause of the problem. So that it was very clear to not only to me, a lot of people in the even central bank was very clear. Ultimately, that did not happen, but it was too late when we came and implement the reform program. That was too late, and it went through a very bad cycle and with a lot of pains. Unfortunately, if this was done a little early, at least 1 year earlier, we could not have seen this kind of pain for people who were suffering. If you can remember, I'll give one example. In 2009, the same administration, towards the end of the war, had a similar situation. Resources are coming down drastically. And there's a lot of opposition from the Western countries because of the political reasons. Even they were not supporting the IMF program. Then government decided to go with the IMF. And with the objection of in 2009, the opposition of some of the key members of the IMF, shareholders of the IMF, but still then government went ahead with the IMF. As a result, went timely. As a country was able to manage the balance of payment crisis. That time there was no this kind of a debt issue. Debt was already sustainable. Debt was not that high. As a result, because of the proactive decision taken by then government, we were able to continue with the completion of the war. Government was able to find financing. External financing were forthcoming soon after the IMF program was approved in 2009 May or June.
2009 May.
9 May.
Yeah.
That helped the country to prevent another development crisis, and also country was able to continue the completion of these rehabilitation, reconstruction, and people did not feel the pain of a crisis at that time. That was a good decision. So then same administration later did not want to take that decision. And this is the consequence of...
By any chance, did the central bank still advise the government to go for IMF before 2020?
I think it's not the central bank. It's central bank is then monetary board. So monetary board, and there's two. Yes, I have to make a differentiation. Monetary board is authority of the central bank. Consists of chairman of government, chairman monetary board. their Secretary of Treasury is ex officio member. There are 3 other members, 5 members. They are the authority. This monetary board should be, as a final advice to government, monetary board should be advising to the government. What I understood then, within the below the monetary board are the professional staff, deputy governors, assistant governors, directors, and other directors. They are the professional staff. They have always been advising, informing then monetary board, and directly and sometimes indirectly the meetings with the Minister of Finance informing this situation. But they also denial. At the monetary board level, they also denial. Then government administration position was that we don't want to go to the IMF. Unlike 2009 situation, this time same administration decision, we don't want to go.
CAP has emerged as a leading corporate in marine and industrial machinery maintenance, transforming the maritime landscape of Sri Lanka. CAP, navigating excellence, delivering tomorrow.
Basically advising the government to do the right thing and go to the IMF, restructure all this. The advisors were coming clearly, but central bank as authority monetary board did not take that. The advice did not take beyond the central bank to the Minister of Finance. Even sometimes they have opportunities when Minister of Finance then, even the President and Secretary President, has a different view. So we can manage this. If I remember, this one of the things was that 6 months road, which was announced, saying that bank is said to will get this much inflows.
I remember will get $26.5 billion within 6 months inflow. There was a figure. Yeah. I remember.
That was the plan, alternative plan, what they call homemade or on-draw solution. I think it was after 6 months when I came, complete session. Then by the time person who presented the home loan plan had already researched and then that's not the choice. That was the situation at that time, unfortunately.
Post debt default, Governor. Now we have been trying to do the debt restructuring. What were the real challenges you faced in the debt restructuring?
This is in fact a very difficult exercise, very challenging exercise. First time Sri Lanka has never engaged. So fortunately, we were able to appoint the government to the Minister of Supply and President agreed to hire the best advisors in the world in this business. So I should give credit to Lazard and Clifford Chance, financial advice, legal advice. So we were able to use the expertise. Even this is a new process. We also were learning on the job. And also we had support from the bilateral leaders like the Japan, China, all the commercial leaders also support. But that process was very difficult. There was steps to be taken. That was, I am glad that I was one of the key stakeholders in negotiations of both bilateral and also commercial trading, and very much closely involved. This is not the job of the central bank. I, as a person, with my knowledge, I was able to contribute and participate in their Secretary of Treasury. We two were three officers who were leading the negotiation at all levels. We were able to negotiate the help from the Lazard and also some of the advisors, global advisors. We were not only that our decision, we were consulting the experts in the world in this business. Listen to everyone, even I also appreciate all of them. Just Modifan played this as a trusted advice. Then Mission Chief Peter Brewer, he played a great role. And that the finance advisors and legal advisors, and also some other advisors outside were helping us. That was a difficult because no one expected Sri Lanka to announce temporary disaster. So difficult to convince and get the relief that we need and the time and space we need to restore the sustainability of next 10 years. But all difficult negotiations. It's a very tough negotiation. When you are in the room to negotiate, especially commercial creator, you know how tough those negotiations were. Because every time trying to get the maximum out of, have a right balance. And from the creator point of view, they want to ensure that they would get, even with delay, they would get what they have invested, at least with some reduction relief. At least ensure they want to get medium to long term relief for them as a creator. For us, responsibility is to get the maximum relief for the country so that we can restore the sustainability that is affordable, and this is feasible. Those are the competing needs, creditors and us. We had very professional negotiations. We were to look at the similar countries, those who are going through similar process. I think we were comparatively feel more efficient than for Zimbabwe started process much in some other countries.
Zambia.
Start Zambia, Lebanon still. Argentina had the same. So we were able to negotiate. And there are other things. These are all market sensitive negotiations. To ensure the information is kept confidentially, not have any kind of leakage, no implications, violation of the global market sensitive rules and regulations in the commercial credit in the global market, or prevent any leakage of information and keep the confidentiality and announce at the right time. A lot of challenges. One is sexuality for restructuring. I also that those two are most difficult. Those are not the easiest ones. I'm glad that I have been part of that both of them. We were able to get the best solution for the country in both fronts, despite the challenges we had at that time. Economy was suffering, people were suffering. Still, we were able to get the relief for the people in this country in a relatively short period. But obviously, that was a painful process. We had to go through this painful process as a result of the legacy issues. There's no way counterfactual would be if we did not do that. Right from the standstill, restructuring, and all the funds insurance. If we did not go that path, you would be still struggling like Lebanon. I don't think people can live peacefully in this country if we did not do it. Counterproductive, counterfactual would be we are going through a very difficult, painful process. Poverty not 25% would have been 50%. Economy would still not be functioning as we're functioning today. And countries obviously would have hard defaulted because there are no resources. Inflation could have been hyperinflation, like we have seen some Zimbabwe. And there could be a bank sector, bank run. There's instability. There's a bank run or stability or instability in the bank sector. People in this country could have lost all the lifetime savings in the banks. Bank run means there's no financial stability. That's what in some countries, even Greece, at some point, Lebanon is still happening. Money in their banks would be wiped out completely. Lifetime savings of the people in this country could have wiped out if there was a banking crisis. That's another challenge to prevent the banking crisis. It's another challenge because they were touch and go. Even the fiat depreciation, high interest rates, the liquidity, both rupee liquidity issue, dollar liquidity issues. So it's very state bank. So on the brink of a collapse. So very carefully handling. That's one of the reasons domestic debt optimization excluded the banks. We included banks. That could have been a collapse of the banking system. That will be the end of the story. There's no recovery for 10 years. That happened. This is why some people don't understand if that did not happen, what would have the outcome. That until that happens, no one. The example again, if we did the restructuring 1 year earlier, started the process, people would not have felt this difficulty and pain. And people would not know the repercussion. But this time, unfortunately, people in Sri Lanka learned it in the hard way and went through the process, went through the pain. And that, in fact, gave a good lesson for not only for the people, but also the politicians, members of parliament. Now we can see much more scrutiny, much more information, much more knowledge by all the people. Everyone understand the situation. Very careful in making the decision because we went through a difficult process.
Gone on the DDO, the domestic debt optimization. One of the blames against the central bank is that you did not target the banks, but you target the captive funds, EPF, where the poor people or mid-level income earners basically affected. Why is that?
This again, look at the counterfactual. We did not do that. So the explanation one. Obviously, I explained why we should not have touched banking sector. So 15 trillion at that point savings of the people. We should have lost the savings of 15 trillion of, I think, about account holders, so again about close to 20 million savings. That was no touch. That is the reason why we excluded them. Then look at the contribution made by domestic organization by different stakeholders. The sun out of the what they call recommended was 1.3% of gross financing. Almost 1% was contributed by the central bank from our balance sheet. EPF only 0.3% in terms of potential reduction of interest income as a result of restructuring both. And the state banks also made in terms of restructuring their foreign currency obligation. There's small contribution coming from it. So here the counterfactual is that if the domestic optimization was not done this way, and if we did not exclude the bank, different outcome. Why substantial funds? Basically, there was a reason. So there was a decision by the government. Either substantial funds can make a contribution and retain the right to pay 14% tax, subject to income tax, compared to 30% by or 36% by everyone else. So the options we had as custodian of the EPF on behalf of the members is that either we go for 30% liable income tax out of the income or 14% liability, lower liability, but given agreed to restructuring terms that was presented by the government to the EPF as custodian. There are two roads. We as custodian EPF, we had to take the best decision for the members of the EPF. If we did not, out of the two options, 14% taxation was a 30% taxation. Clearly, if we went on the path of 30% taxation without restructuring, it could have been worse for the members of the. You could have given lower return for the members. So that is the decision made by the governing board that time. Looking at the two options available, imposed by the parliament, the legitimate right authority, the parliament of public finance, they gave us two choices. Either you select 14% taxation or 30% taxation. 30% taxation means no service applicable. 14% taxation means you have to make a contribution. So out of those two positions, that was the best decision for the members. And if you look back, before that, before 2022, several years, returns were 9% for the EPF members. Now since then, following years, 13%, 11%, even 11%. We have been given even more than 9% that was given to the EPF members as their annual return. We now get restructured. And also there's no single haircut. Balances were kept as it is. On top of that, there were returns. Interests were given to all the members. First year 13%, next year 11%, and still this year we are close to that. So when you look at the outcome, it is best for the EPF members. Our interest is to look after members. It's the best solution out of the two options available. The solution for the EPF members to protect their balances, get them some reasonable return above the market returns that they could have earned. The best solution. If you look back, this is going to be the best solution. In my view, that is why the monetary board decided to select that option, and that also gave some kind of relief for the government. That benefit of the domestic debt relief for the government largely coming from the 1.3%. 1% came from the central bank. 3% came from the EPF. So with that, government was able to continue the service of domestic debt obligation, even with some high interest rates. There's no single default of government domestic debt obligation since the crisis, after the crisis. Imagine a situation where government did not do the domestic debt optimization. Then other option, as I said earlier, as external creditor, government could have defaulted domestic debt obligation. Any default of domestic debt obligation, even with very high interest rates, that could have impacted the members of the EPF worse than what we think now. It's again counterfactual. If government defaulted, if they were not in a position to service domestic debt, then worse affected party more than the banking sector with the EPF, because their members' balances over 95% invested in government securities. EPF was relying on government debt service obligations and without defaulting meeting those obligations. So the domestic opponents ensured government would be able to continuously service their domestic obligations. As a result, EPF was able to give the members a reasonable return out of those debt service obligations. This is the counterfactual. This is where I think, for this I just want to take some time to explain the counterfactual. If that did not happen, what would have been the outcome is no one knows. Or one should be able to predict that out. That is why we as professionals, we as economists, as financial analysts, and it's not only myself, it's the team of central bank officers and team of Minister of Finance officials. Those are very capable, knowledgeable. It's a combined collaborative effort and can make a conclusion and get the best out on our behalf for the EPM members and for the whole country and government covering the success. Those are the two requirements had to me with the right balance. Those are the right balance in mind.
Coming back to the current situation, Governor, now with this Detroit disaster, Sri Lanka has sought RFI from the IMF, and they have basically delayed the completion of the fifth review plus the sixth disbursement of the 3 billion loan. Going forward, how do you see? Do you see the targets are going to be changed? Because now with the reserve target and the other targets are not going to be the easy as much as we thought earlier. What's the thought?
Programs are always, each and every review, if you can historically, is not necessarily the straight fit jacket and it's not fixed forever. One review, we are going to come to the fifth review and sixth disbursement. Each and every review, if you look at, we have been able to negotiate with the IMF, take into consideration the emergency situations and revise the agreement for the revised terms and conditions. So this time, why RFI is, I think, right instrument at this point. That is, instrument is designed for rapid financing support for a member country in this kind of urgent emergency. That's why we executed and made request to first this do a support. This support wouldn't have any terms and conditions. No condition at all. Immediately they disbursed 200 billion. But the program, EFF, has certain commitment by the government for them to be able to disburse. Again, those conditions, because of the new situation, it has been changed. It's obvious that the next review, we have to renegotiate and take into consideration new needs of the country and new fiscal needs for the government to be able to support the affected people. That has to be taken into consideration in the new conditions. That's why we need some more time. Make it clear, make an assessment what is the right amount of support needed, and then incorporate that assessment for next year with the supplemental budget additional support. Then only there's a firm view what can be done, what kind of a relief, kind of a change in terms and conditions for the next 1.5 years of the program. That is why the right approach is to first get what we can get and then negotiate the program that is basically suitable for the emergency situation and then go ahead with the program. Again, I think all I can say, IMF, this is nothing of the conditions for the IMF. They also are members, they also are representing the 108 countries. They want to ensure their money is secured and protected, and government has the sustainability and ability to repay whatever money we get. We also have the commitment to have been trying to through discussions and show them these are the needs and negotiate a program which is feasible. I don't think after this kind of event, I can ask, okay, you still have the same kind of target, same kind of, because they obviously will take into consideration. That is the ability of the team that negotiate the program with same people. Those who are equally competent at the same level, and then we should be able to negotiate a good program. That is why the time is needed until the things are clear. Next year, I'm sure we will be able to negotiate a new program for the next year onwards, and they will take into consideration. That's how programs work.
Governor, now in the past we have seen in similar crisis, central bank has printed a lot of money, and then added to inflationary pressure, and then central bank has to go for tightening monetary policy. How do you see this crisis in that background?
Now I think the situation is that because of the legacy issue. That's one of the most important reform in my view. And on the program would be New Central Bank Act, which gave a necessary independence central bank to policy and financial stability independently by the independent institution with proper checks and balance, and also with accountability, much more strong accountability to the parliament than we had earlier. As I said earlier central bank had no access to the direct access. The new act, we are accountable to the parliament. At least we should be summoned, or we should get summoned by the parliament once in. We have seen that this is great accountability to the parliament and the public. So with this new act, I think central bank certainly will take right monetary policy decisions, will take right measures to ensure financial stability. It is good for the country. So I think any administration will appreciate the central bank independence. It is good for the economy. For example, if the inflation is going to go up in the near future, at any point in the future, more than the target, we will tighten the monetary policy. That is to ensure inflation is contained at the right level. For any country, for any administration, that is the worst enemy of an economy is inflation. So if the inflation is contained, that will ensure fiscal discipline, stability, that will ensure the productivity of the businesses, the cost of their production, that will also ensure the stability of the exchange rate, that will also be able to build our buffers. That is the key variable for any country. So that is, I'm sure, now the public understand the importance of maintaining inflation. We should be able to maintain inflation. That is the ultimate objective with any kind of monetary policy action. So we will implement monetary policy properly, ensure inflation is maintained at this level. That is best for any political regime, any administration. That's the best thing to have. I'm sure when earlier this was not properly understood, that's why, as you said earlier, without just ignoring what inflation is going to be, yes, central bank was forced and compelled to use printing money, to ignore expansion for short-term gains, to finance the expanding fiscal deficits. That obviously everyone knew that was going to, now people have a better understanding. Public will have better understanding. We are doing that. I'm sure we will be questioned. We will have a lot of questions. We have accountability to people to ensure we maintain inflation. That is our primary objective. So that we can't basically do away with our objective. We should ensure that we maintain that.
Got one last question now. Your monetary policy has been inflation targeting monetary policy. Now, since the crisis, we have seen our poverty level has gone up, and it's almost a quarter, 25% or 24.5% exactly. Is there any way you can come up with a monetary policy that will be for poor, where they can also enjoy more investment or more economic growth trickling down to them?
I think what you're talking about, the inclusion.
Yeah.
So basically, the monetary policy is who benefit most. The monetary policy low inflation is the poor and under. Unfortunately, because we didn't have pro monetary policy, inflation went to 70%, food inflation 100%. As well, why country poverty was increased from about single digit 25% was people's real incomes did not go up. The nominal incomes went up, but the inflation was much higher than as a result, people who were earlier above the poverty line fell below the poverty line. That was the reason, root cause. For them to give any support, I think first part from central bank, ensuring inflation is low, that is the key one. Mostly benefit people are when on. For example, if I say if 70% inflation at point went to 100% or 120%, poverty could have been not 25%, 35% or 50%. We prevented poverty increasing further by tightening monetary policy and preventing inflation going beyond 70% food and preventing beyond 100%. As I said, we prevented people falling into more poverty. That's the first part. That's how people live. So the redistribution is a different policy. That is where social safety net. That's where taxpayers' money is properly used to support people who have been worse affected. That's why I'm from has a key component where this first support, the taxpayer money should be given to most affected poor and vulnerable people who are below the poverty line. That is why there is a ceiling. Government should spend at least this amount of money, 150 billion, close to that amount every year to support those people. That's the one way. Other way is that's only people who are poor people. But everyone else, like SMEs, other one, only way to recover, support them is to get the economy activities back on track. And for that, it's important inflation has 5%. Interest rates are low. People can get back into the normal business. Bank sector is intermediate finance can do properly. Financial intermediates can be happen effectively, and interest rates are low. And it's stable. That is the contribution that we can make to support other sections, communities like SMEs, MSMEs, and the corporate business. That is where what's important central bank function. I don't think we should be targeting any sections of the community. There's no instrument for central banks. Only instrument through interest rates and rate, financial stability. That is our conclusion. Any other contribution, reallocation of resources should come from the fiscal authority. That's where government, I'm happy that government now see that. That's the point. Having proper social safety net and giving support to certain SMEs and MSMEs using taxpayers' money for them to be able to come back after this event so that they can come back in the light. But we do in best way is to support from the banking sector some relief. Also ensuring the stability in the inflation rate and also the interest. That's where our country and that ensure that will happen. That is how we can do it. So that's the important one.
Thank you, Governor, for your in-depth and insight about what happened during the crisis and how did you all decide the default. Thank you very much. That's it for today. In the insight, let's meet in another episode. Thank you.
CAP has emerged as a leading corporate in marine and industrial machinery maintenance, transforming the maritime landscape of Sri Lanka. CAP, navigating excellence, delivering tomorrow.